Craig, what is your top 5 list this week?
So the list is, since we have 9 0-2 teams in the NFL right now,
It's a lot.
and only 11% of those teams usually make the playoffs, I went with the top 5 teams, the 0-2, that have a chance to make the playoffs.
Okay.
So it's less than half of them, or excuse me, it's more than half of them. So my number 5 team, I did like a picker, or like the wheel spin thing, where I had the Broncos and I had the Panthers. The Panthers won 5, as I was doing the best out of 9. So the Panthers won 5-4. But the more I thought about it, the more I just couldn't put the Panthers in there, because their schedule coming up, even though before the season started they had an easy schedule on paper, but all these teams that are winning, they have now like the 5th or 6th toughest schedule remaining. Now that could change, obviously, because it's remaining schedule, but in the way their offense looks, I'm not sure I can put them in there at this point, even though they're in a better conference. Plus, they're 0-2 in the division. So I went with the Broncos at 5. The Russell Wilson, for what it's worth, he's actually playing pretty well. Like his numbers aren't horrible. I mean, actually, his numbers are pretty good. He's got 5 touchdowns and 1 interception, which is way better than what he was doing last season. His passer rating is 4th in the NFL. He's getting 242 yards a game in passing. He's completing about 68% of his passes. The 5 touchdowns is 2nd in the NFL. So, I mean, he's putting up numbers. He's just had some type of moments where he just makes some iffy plays. If you just saw the numbers, you'd be like, oh, that's not bad. Why are they 0-2? Or I'm not putting all this on Russell Wilson. But at the same time, he makes poor decisions every now and then with his decision making. So that has to get changed. But at the same time, they have a defense on paper that's really supposed to be really good. They have a running game. At least they have a running back, 2 running backs. They have some wide receivers there. So I think they can pull it together. I didn't pick them to make the playoffs. And this is slim pickings because it's only 9 teams. And I'm not picking the Cardinals or the Bears or the Texans or the Panthers. So got to go with the Broncos here.
Oh, yeah.
They got the Dolphins coming up next at the Dolphins. Possibly a loss. They got the Bears after that at Chicago. And then they got the Jets. So it's going to be – the next game is definitely going to be tough. Don't see too many 0-3 teams come back and make the playoffs. The last I remember was the Texans in 2018. They started 0-3 and they finished 11-2. That was Deshaun Watson and them. So it can happen. It's just you don't want to put yourself in that situation, and it's really, really rare. My number 4 team, I got the Vikings. We kind of touched on a little bit of this earlier. The running game without Dalvin Cook, they had the worst running attack in the NFL. Their passing game is really good, obviously. I mean, you got Justin Jefferson out there, and you got Jordan Addison. So they got and T.J. Hawkinson. So you got some really good receivers, but we need to run the ball, and especially in these close games, it's just not happening for them. The defense is mediocre, but this is pretty much a must-win game coming up. They got the Chargers, who are another 0-2 team. Then they got the Panthers, a winnable game. Then they got the Chiefs at home. It's going to be tough. But Kirk Cousins, just like Russell Wilson, he's got numbers. He's got 6 touchdowns and 1 interception. He leads the league in touchdowns. He's up there, and I think he's 1st or 2nd in yards per game. So
playing good. He's playing
his
good.
QBR is high. It's just they don't have a good defense, and they don't have a good running attack. That's what's hurting them. And then all these close games they were in last year, they won. This year, so far, they're 0-2. Actually, if you want to be technical, they lost their last 3 because they lost the playoff game to the Giants. So, but they're in the easy conference, so they can still turn it around. My 3rd team is the Patriots. The Patriots actually are playing pretty well. You see what happened when you get an offensive coordinator instead of 2 defensive guys or whatever it is. They've been in both of those games. They had I'm not gonna say the refs cheated them, but I mean they didn't cheat them, but they had iffy calls or calls that could have went either way. Against the Eagles, the guy for the wide receiver, that was his fault. He didn't drag his foot. And then the overturned call against the Dolphins. So who knows if they get those calls or the receiver drags his foot or whatever it is, maybe they win both of those games. We're not sitting there talking about they're 0-2 for the first time since 2001, I believe. So under Bill Belichick. So it's unfortunate that the Patriots. I mean, because I didn't really believe in this team, but I see the way that they're playing. have good chemistry. The running attack isn't what I thought it was going to be, especially when you bring in Ezekiel Elliott and you already have Ramondre Stevenson. Their passing game is better than their running game, and the defense is just normally. I mean, they're hovering around top 10 right now. They're 14th. I thought the defense would be a little bit better, but they have played two really good teams, the Eagles and the Dolphins. So they got the Jets coming up next, a road game, then the Cowboys, and then the Saints at home. So I think if they can get this one against the Jets, I think they can probably beat the Saints and at least kind of go to 2-3, and that won't really put them out as far as some of these other teams. The Chargers, like I said, they play the Vikings this week. This is a must-win game for either team.
Yeah. You see it's on who you got.
The team that loses this game, I think, is I got them out at this point.
This is crazy. Is this early in the season that this is a must-win game?
Playoff at this point.
0-3, you done.
This Chargers, is a must-win game for both of those, and it's this early in the season. That's crazy. Go ahead, Craig.
Chargers have a really good offense. Everybody knows about the Chargers offense. Last week they lost to the Titans. They didn't have Austin Eckler, which is unfortunate. But they still have so many good other wide receivers, and they have Justin Herbert at quarterback. So they have talent there. The defense is what's bringing them down. The defense is 32nd in the NFL. You look at the defense on paper, you would think that Derwin James and Asante Samuel Jr., Joey Bosa,
Khalil Mack,
like J.C. Jackson, like all these guys on this defense, just names. And you would think that they will be able to not be 32nd in the NFL. And that's where they are, man. They're passing the 32nd in passing defense as well, 30th in points. Like they're just not able to do anything on the defensive end. And Justin Herbert can only do so much. Staley, I don't even know if they lose this week, they got to go in a different direction. For a guy who's supposed to be a defensive guy, I didn't want Staley to be hired in the first place because I thought they should have went offensive because of the young quarterback. They went defensive, and for a guy that's defensive, the team is 32nd in defense. It doesn't make any sense. It's not just. It's
I
just
think
not
we all thought that. We all thought they were going to hire Brian Daboll.
They got to go in a different direction here because at this point, even if they win, I just think you just got to get them out, especially if they look really bad on defense again. Because I think, well, Kellen Moore is doing his job. Team is fourth in total offense, but he's just not. The defense is terrible. And then I got the Bengals at number 1. I'm still holding on just because they were out of all these teams, they have the best chance to make the Super Bowl, or at least before the season started. And right now they're the worst in the league in offense, worst in the league in points per game, which you don't really associate with, at least the last couple of years. You haven't associated with the Bengals. The defense is 28th, so they're really bad in both offense and defense. They can't score. It took them almost 7 quarters to get their first touchdown of the season. They finally started going, and then but it was too little, too late. They already were behind the 8 ball.
So you're saying they can't score? So their defense is 28th? I didn't know that.
Defense is 28th, and their offense is 32nd. So they're not producing on either side. Against the run, they're 31st against the run. So they can't stop the run. They're really, they're top 10 against the pass, so that's good in defense. But on offense, the 32nd total, the 30th on the pass, the 28th in rushing, and the 32nd in points. You have that type of offense when you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow,
Tyler Boyd.
Like, no reason why this team should be that far down in offense when you played the Ravens. I can understand it, and you played the Steelers. Which not the Steelers, the Browns. Which again, I can understand it because there's 2 division teams, but there's no way your offense should look that horrible. So I'm still holding out because they got the Rams this week, which is a winnable game, and they got the Titans, another winnable game, and they got the Cardinals. So if they can win all 3 of these games in a row, they'll be back to 3-2. And then last year they started the 0-2. Granted, it was 1 division game and 1 game against the Cowboys, so it wasn't 2 division games, but they came back.
Who did they lose? Was it Cleveland again?
Last year, the start of the season?
I know it was the Cowboys.
I'm not sure. The Cowboys was the second game. It might have been Pittsburgh, or I think it might have been Pittsburgh. But I'm not 100% sure on that one. I have to look at the their schedule from
I'm about to
last
tell
year.
you right now. Yeah, it was. I'm going to tell you right now. It was.
They lost to
I
overtime.
think it won 2 division games last year.
It wasn't. It
This
was
the first
the
time.
Steelers and the Cowboys.
Yep, it was the Steelers and Cowboys.
The offense looked better
Yep.
last year though, but
And they lost to Steelers in overtime, and they lost to the Cowboys. It was the last-second field goal. They didn't look this bad last year.
well, you
Nah,
got
it's
Joe Burrow with the
still-
injury.
it's still-
He missed training camp and all that stuff, so that might have definitely hindered his progression. But there's no way he should look 30-second bad. So
Nah, because Craig, after they lost those 2 close games, they put 27. They scored 27 points against the Jets and 27 against the Dolphins. Then they had a divisional game, of course.
that was the game that Tua got hurt and he didn't play the second half.
Yep. Then they put 30 points on the Saints, 35 on the Falcons, 42 on the Panthers. Sorry about that. 37 on the Steelers. So yeah, their offense they beat the Chiefs.
This is a must. I mean, all these teams have must-win games. The best thing you can hope for is a tie. Other than that, if you lose, I think it's even though you have one extra game, you have one extra playoff team. It's just a tough hill to climb out of when you put yourself in that big of a hole. So we'll see what happens, but I'm hoping the Bengals can pull it out.
It's going to be very interesting. This is going to be very interesting because and now they said Joe Burrow might not play.
Yeah, I know, and that's like a Monday night game.
The Cavs, they might try to hold him out for a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, they got if you look at their schedule,
it's very winnable.
It's winnable.
Well, at least the next 4 games, they can win all 4 of these.
They
before they go on the bye week.
They can rest him. They have the Rams, Bengals. I'm sorry. They have the Rams, Titans, Cardinals, Seahawks.
That's Seahawks one tough. That's Seahawks one tough. They play Seahawks without Bengals.
Yeah, but if they can go 2-2, if they can go 2-2 in that stretch without Joe Burrow, I mean, I think that they have a bye week, and then
missing that many games,
But they got winnable games, so I don't know. That them calf injuries scare me, man. They because it would suck if he played and then something happened. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
everybody looking at the Bengals organization like, why you hold him
he's out
out
for a year, and he misses another training camp. That would, and you're gonna have him off. He might if he injures it, you know what I'm saying? Like, he might start the season on the PUP list. So I don't. We'll see. Them calf injuries they're not nothing to play with. They're nothing to play with.